graduate from King Fahad University of Petroleum and Minerals in 2015 from the Department of Actuarial Science and Financial Mathematics. Since then, I joined Saudi Arabia Monetary Authority as insurance supervisor at that time, and with the development in the insurance sector as well as in the regulator, there has been actuarial function, which is new in SAMA. So the new people join SAMA, become actuarial analyst, who is still studying for the exam. So my presentation part will be about the role of actions in insurance market. It's been covered a little bit and been touched from Mr. Ahmed Quraishi. So I'll try to elaborate on things that were not discussed in depth. I'll be talking about firstly Saudi Arabia Military Authority, and take the chance to focus on the insurance regulator, which is the General Department of Insurance Control, and the new development of the regulator. Then we'll talk about some context about the market, the insurance market in Saudi Arabia, and then we'll move to our core topic, which is the role and responsibility of actuaries, which are reserves pricing, and then the move of the pricing adequacy approach, and other tasks that the actuary in the insurance market can be working on. I'll talk about SAMA, and firstly, SAMA is the central bank of Saudi Arabia. We always see SAMA as part of the notes, the bank notes. So SAMA is looking after the currency and the fiscal policy of the government. This is one part of the mandate of SAMA. The other part is looking after the banking sector and the insurance sector and the finance sector. So the stability of those sectors are being supervised by SAMA. One of the tasks and mandates of SAMA is to look after the payment systems. So we have MADA, and MADA was initially part of SAMA, and SAMA is now regulating the payment systems companies. In addition to that, we are SAMA investing the government foreign reserves as part of our mandates. In addition to this, in terms of research, we have the data, and we have a deputy who are looking after the research in terms of economics. We have talked about the G20 event, which will be held in Saudi, inshallah, in November. So SAMA is playing an important role in this. So all the events that is related to economics and things related to the economy of the whole world is being treated in SAMA as important, and there is a big part in mandate of SAMA. In the insurance regulator, what we are doing as SAMA is regulating the market and trying to be facilitator in terms of protecting the rights of the policyholder. I've been in touch with one of my professors who were having issue with one of the insurance companies. So SAMA is looking after the protection of his right in terms of knowing exactly what has been done from his side and from the company. So the ultimate goal of SAMA is to protecting the rights, and the actuaries in the market and in SAMA play important role in protecting the policyholder. If the reserves or if the pricing were not adequately being determined, then the protection of the policyholder will be not perfectly looking after. Then the protection is having as well ensuring the fair treatment of the policyholder and beneficiaries, and then issuing the regulations and instructions for the whole market. And finally, which we think it is vital, to promote the growth in the insurance sector. This is some context about the numbers of the insurance sector in Saudi Arabia. We have 33 insurance companies. One of them is a reinsurance company, which is only reinsurance company. There is no insurance operation of that company. And we have 170 service providers. The 170 service provider includes brokers, agents, insurance consultants, loss adjuster. We have third-party administrators, and we have finally the actuarial service provider. So from those 170, we have only 4 who are licensed now as actuarial service providers. So there are a big opportunity for the actuaries and for service provider to be part of the insurance sector in Saudi Arabia. And SAMA is taking a step ahead of this probable growth in the actuarial service provider. The new structure of the General Department of Insurance Control has been changed in August, last August 2019, and there was a division which looks after the actuarial service provider, and there are about 10 people plus, other than the actuarial function. There is another division who is looking after the loss adjuster, the TPA, actuarial service provider, and there is a dedicated team who is reviewing all of the work from the actuarial service provider. There is the gross written premium in 2018 has reached 35 billion Saudi riyal. So 35 billion is not the same as 2017. 2017 it was about 36. So there was a big decrease. We expect this year to come back as 36 billion. The penetration, which is the GWP over the GDP, now we are in a very low percentage. We are in 1.2%, and the developed countries, the penetration is higher than whatever we are here. So there are huge opportunity to grow in the penetration. And the retention rate, which is calculated as the premium that is coming to insurance company over whatever has been ceded to the insurance outside. So the thing that is retained in Saudi Arabia is 86% of the whole premium. So from 35 billion, 86% has been treated in Saudi Arabia, in the economy of Saudi Arabia. This is distribution of insurance companies. We have 2 who are pure protection saving. Here we have general insurance, health insurance, protection saving, which is called life insurance in other markets. So we have pure protection saving 2. We have health and general 13 who are looking after only health and general, and 18 are mixed. And in the right graph, this is the premium written from in 2018, distributed based on the type of insurance. So the dominant line of business is health. So 57% of the market in 2018 is from the health sector, and 40% from the general, and the small part which is in the green, 3% from the protection saving. Role of actuaries, we are updating the actuarial work regulation. There was actuarial work regulation issued in 2016. Now in the public consultation to update the actuarial work regulation. So the role of the actuaries in the law and in the implementing regulation is to examine the company's overall financial position. So to quantify and examine the company's financial position, and with the mandate to price the company's products, such as protection saving products and health products and motor products. After the pricing, there should be a technical provisioning, so the determination of technical provision. And last part, which in the new regulation has expanded and make it more wide than the previous one, to coordinate with other departments, such as the risk management department and with the internal audit and with the reinsurance department. So there are huge opportunities in the companies, especially in the actuarial function. And one of the things that is new in the actuarial regulation, SAMA is thinking of mandating a function, a department in all of the insurance companies, which should be having at least one or two SOAs in 33 companies. So this will highly increase the demand for all of the actuaries, the members and the candidates. So we are expecting about 33 plus positions or more than this after the regulation being approved. We are in the final stages. We are expecting the regulation to be officially issued in the coming 3 months maximum. One of the mandates of the actuaries is to report the financial condition report, which is happening annually. So the financial condition report includes many things, and the core part of it is claim-based reserving. We have the outstanding claims, which is mainly accounting and not having some issues or probable things in it. But the way that the calculation is to have the ultimate claims, which have 2 parts. So the income but not reported, the IBNR, is the thing that second looked by the actuaries. The way that here happening is we have the appointed actuary for each company. So there is a dedicated person who is doing all of this with the help of the insurance company. We have other reserves such as premium deficiency reserve, and we have recommended a data deficiency reserve in the regulation for those who has issued with the data. So any issue that the actuary faced during his report, he has to recommend to the company to hold extra provisioning, which is the data deficiency reserve. And the last one, which is the unearned premium reserve. In addition to this, we have other requirements. We have parts related to expense analysis, anything related to the expenses of the company and the future of it, the actuary has to comment about. In addition, we have the reinsurance adequacy and the reinsurance effectiveness for the treaties, and for the investment and ALM, for the asset liability management or matching. For insurance company, it is very vital for managing the asset against the liability, especially for our market. We have mentioned that more than 97% of the market is general and health, which is short tail. That means the liability is coming in a fast pace. That means the liability side is short tail, the asset needs to be matching this. So most of the investment is being as deposits and not as complex investment things that being invested in the market. The further pricing, we have mentioned in the implementing regulation, which is the regulation that everything comes from. The price shall be fair, reasonable, and adequate. And the second part, which is coming from, shall be set in accordance with the company's underwriting guidelines. This was a high-level statement and article. We have specified the requirement for the motor and medical. We have now talking about, for the motor, we have coming from 4 rating variables. Only the age of the driver and many basic things. Now we have moved to 40 plus. So we have 10 double the previous requirements. And we have make it mandatory for the actuary to set the expense ratio and the commission and the profit. This is the same for the medical side. One of the big changes in the motor side in 2017, we have make it mandatory to offer a discount for those who have no claim for several years. So if you have 1 year without any claim, you will get 10% and then 20 up to 50% for the TPL. If you have 5 years no claim, that means you are eligible for those changes, for those discounts. Given these changes, the role of actuary has been vital to make sure that the prices are adequate. Since there are fixed discounts, then the actuary has to make it fair and adequate. So for SAMA's role to look after fair and adequate to protect the policyholder at the end right. One of the moves as well, we, as mentioned by Ahmed Al-Graichi, in 2013, we make it, or 2014, we made it mandatory for actuarial, for all the companies to have the price of the actuary as the minimum. So the company cannot come below the actuarial price. So the recommended price was the minimum. In 2017, this was in 2014. In 2017, we have take it back and make it flexible to the company to take the recommendation from the actuary and then either go below it or go above it. And as a role for SAMA to monitor this, we have the pricing adequacy. So the pricing adequacy is being calculated as the selling price over the technical price or the actuarial price. So if the selling price is 1,000 and the actuary has mentioned it should be 900, that means the company has priced over than the actuarial price, which is, from SAMA's perspective, we see it as good since they are a bit, they are not taking the prices down. The opposite way is where SAMA is looking after it in a more cautious way. If the actuary said 1,000 and they are selling with a 900, that means they could be underpricing their products, which they cannot at the end pay the policyholder right. So this process is being done in every half year for the pricing adequacy for all companies, and the companies are being charging the right price with the changes in the actuarial prices. So this is the approach for the pricing that actually is having the 3 to 5 years policy and claims data. From this, the risk premium is being calculated. Then, as per SAMA's instruction, there should be expense loading that is calculated by the actuary and the commission. And at the end, we have the profit and contingency. This will have the final actuarial price. Then the company has the right either to go below it or higher, given that the board of directors have approved this, and SAMA being notified of doing so. Several companies have go below, and then with SAMA's supervision, they come back closer to the actuarial price, given that it is more to protect the policyholder rights. For the medical line of business, this is the classification that we ask the companies to be held and actually to have it. We have the experience rated group. So for those credible groups, and they have more than 1,000 people, that means they are in the experience rated group. And we have the small groups which are book rated group. This is the other part. And we have for the domestic workers, and we have for visitor visa, which is now having tourist visa as well. So all of those short-term policies are being reported in the visitor visa and other short-term ones. For the motor, we have two specifications that should be reported by the actuary. We have it for third-party liability, which is mandatory, and we have it for comprehensive, which is optional from enforcing point of view. So the types of reporting is retail, and we have it for corporate policies and corporate policies that is not for leasing, and finally for others, for other line of business such as manafid, which is coming from outside Saudi Arabia to Saudi Arabia. I'll conclude with other work. Work in IFRS 17, it was mentioned by Ahmed, that IFRS 17 is being incepted in 2022, but there are huge work that has to be done prior to it. There is a dedicated team in SAMA and people from the sector who is working in IFRS 17, and the changes, there is changes from SAMA's perspective as well as from the companies to understand those needs to be full dedicated teams. Others are working actually service providers in IS 19 employee benefits. The service provider companies, as mentioned in the first slides, that they are four. They are working in insurance sector, and they are working in IS 19, Title 4 employee benefits. They are working in IS 9. So there are huge parts that the actuaries could help in this. Last one, work with actuarial service provider and insurance consultancy. So this is another area that actually could help in this in the insurance market specifically. If you have any question, I'm glad to answer it.